Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ask Rob and Rob, the show where you get your questions in and we give you our best efforts at an answer. And that format's been running for a lot of episodes now. And it's a popular one. So let's continue that roadshow and remind you how you can get involved and get your very own question answered.
Yep, oh so simple. Give us a call on 013 808 00035 or go to propertyhub.net/ask. Just come up with your question, send it over, and you'll soon have your answer. Okay, let's have our first question.
Hi, Rob and Rob. My name's Matt. I've got a couple of buy-to-let properties in Hull that I rent out. They're sort of the lower end of terraced house, but they yield very well. And I've got a couple of questions for you, actually. The first is, would you keep investing in Hull, which is an area that I've got a great letting agent. I've got to know and quite like the city, actually. So you kind of get to know your way around the area. And the second thing is, both properties, well, one of them's a grade D and one's a grade E on the EPC. Would you be looking now to try and get them both up to a grade C, or would you be waiting to see how the land lies with it? And another sort of sub-question would be, would you be looking to sell one of the lower-end properties to reinvest the money into a sort of more middle ground property where you might be able to get more rent and have a better chance of grade EPC? Or am I panicking over nothing? Over to you guys, and keep up the good work.
Matt, thank you. Great question. A lot of people are concerned about this. I think this is probably in our top 5 questions we receive at the moment. And it's one that we've addressed a couple of times before, but we'll keep doing it because it still comes up so much. And there's still so much in the press that I consider a little bit misleading about this. So you quite correctly said that nothing is set in stone around this at the moment, and you've got the option of waiting to see where things settle. And that is completely right. This often gets missed, but nothing is finalised about any of this. And in fact, the suggested implementation date has just been put back 3 years, so it's now 2028. As a result, what I would be doing right now is just waiting and seeing what happens. It doesn't seem to me like something that is worth changing your strategy for. If you've got an area that works for you, you've got a strategy that works for you, you've got a team that you can rely on, then I don't think it's worth changing your strategy for. And I also don't think it's worth incurring a load of expense on your existing properties when you just don't know what the requirements are going to be. I can't see any advantage to being an early mover on this unless you take the view that suddenly all tradespeople are going to be booked up for years on end when a final decision is announced. And I don't know, I don't have any special information on this, but the reason I'm fairly confident that it'll all end up being less of a big deal than it appears is precisely because no one's going to want properties like yours to suddenly disappear from the rental sector. So as you're a listener to this show, I'm pretty confident that you're a good landlord, you maintain your properties well, you treat your tenants fairly. If hundreds of thousands of properties like yours that have got something like a grade D become illegal to rent out overnight, it's going to be a nightmare for everyone. No one's really going to want that to happen. And so one way or another, I don't think it will happen. But that's just my view. You'll have to make your own call. But if I were you, right now, I'd just keep on doing what I was doing.
Okay, thank you, Matt. I hope you and everyone else who's had an EPC question feels a lot better now. Next up, we've got a question in from Greg.
Hi, Rob and Rob. My name is Greg. I have been listening to your podcast for about 3 years now. And at the same time, I have been investing in properties, mostly focusing on the London market, as this is where I live. So now my question is, I have been targeted recently by a number of agents who offer a company-led arrangement where basically they would take control over my property over a period of 3 to 5 years, and then they would look to rent it out to young professionals. So my question is, what is your take on this arrangement, and do you see any downside of it, and which things I should be looking out for specifically? Many thanks. Bye.
Greg, thank you for your question. And while Rob and I do not have any direct experience with this, we do have some advice to help guide you. So the first one is to check out your mortgage. Because if you have a mortgage, which a lot of property investors do, then you may not be able to do this strategy at all. It will depend on your lender getting permission from them or getting a product bespoke for this in the future. So just go and check with them, let them know what you're thinking about doing, and then that may or may not make your decision for you. But let's assume that that can all be sorted. Should you do it anyway? Or you own the property outright and this decision is purely yours. Well, this will come down to research. Because you know what? Let's look at the face of it. Somebody taking that property off you, renting it out for a high rate for a number of years, you can forget about it and just collect the cash. It sounds pretty appealing. And there probably are some professional operators out there who you can use their services and take advantage of this. But there are a lot of sharks as well. So you have to do your research. I would not entertain anyone who didn't have a significant track record and a track record they could prove. Because there are a lot of people out there who are dressing this up as corporate lets, but are really just people doing rent to rent. And some of them have great experience, but many don't. So you are giving your property over to someone else who may be absolutely committed and do a great job, but could also be really awful and land you in a load of hassle and trouble that you do not want. So my absolute top tip after checking your mortgage out is to spend your time on research. Because if you're going to go hands off, then you can invest the time in the short term and make sure they have a provable track record that gives you comfort. If they do not, avoid. Doesn't matter how convincing they sound or how many promises they make. And remember that saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. It's a saying for a reason. Make sure that you find out everything they say is true. So validate all the information that they give you. Do lots of research on them and the business. And then if you have any niggling doubts, walk away. Even if it's just a niggle, not I'm really worried about this. Just niggles, walk away, because it's just not worth the risk. But if you can find a reputable operator who checks out and your mortgage provider is happy with it, then if it appeals, go for it.
So thank you for your questions and thank you for listening. We'll be back on Thursday with the Property Podcast and, of course, back next week with Ask Rob and Rob. So until then, take care, have fun, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.